यशोदानन्दना व्रजधनरञ्जना यमुनातीरावनचारि यमुनातीरावनचारि जय राधमाधव कुञ्जविहारी जय राधमाधव कुञ्जविहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम जय राधा राधाकान्त राधा राधाकान्त राधे जय गौरानिताय 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 जय गौरानिताय निताय गौरा हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद श्रीमद भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं उदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय 10, text 43. Tataha Kalagni Rudratma Yat Shrishtam Idam Atmanaha Saniyachati Tatkale Gananikam Ivanilaha Tataha Kalagni Rudratma Yat Srishtam Idam Atmanaha Sannichati Tatkale Gananikam Ivanilaha Tatakkalagni Rudratma Yat Srishtam Idam Atmanaha Sanniyachati Tatkale Gananikam Ivanilaha Tatakkalagni Rudratma Yat Srishtam Idam Atmanaha Sanniyachati Tatkale Ananikam Ivanilaha
Tatakkalagni Rudratma Yat Srishtam Idam Atmanaha Saniyachati Tatkale Gananikam Ivanilaha
Translation, Mr. Nrishimhadeva. Thereafter, at the end of the millennium, the Lord Himself, in the form of Rudra, the destroyer, will annihilate complete creation as the wind displaces the clouds. Please repeat. Thereafter, at the end of the millennium, the Lord Himself, in the form of Rudra, the destroyer, will annihilate the complete creation as the wind displaces the clouds. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This creation is very appropriately compared to clouds. Clouds are created or situated in the sky, and when they are displaced, they remain in the same sky without manifestation. Similarly, the whole creation is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Brahma. It is maintained by Him in the form of Vishnu. It is destroyed by Him in the form of Rudra or Shiva and all due force. This creation, maintenance and destruction are nicely explained the Bhagavad Gita 8:19-20 as follows. Bhutakramam sa evayam bhutva praliyate ratri arvame vashaha partha prabhavati aharagame parah tasmat bhavonyo vyakto viktat sanatanaha yaksa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu na vinashyati. Nature of the material world is that it is first created very nicely, then it develops very nicely and stays for a great number of years, even beyond the calculation of greatest mathematician. But after that it is again destroyed during the night of Brahma without any resistance. At the end of the night of Brahma, it is again manifested as the creation to follow the same principles of maintenance and destruction. The foolish conditioned soul who has taken his temporary world as a permanent settlement has to learn intelligently why such creation and destruction takes place. The fruitive actors in the material world are very enthusiastic in the creation of the big enterprises, big houses, big empires, big industries, and so many big things are the energy and ingredients supplied by the material agent of the Supreme Lord. With such resources and at the cost of the valuable energy, the conditioned soul creates, satisfies his whims, but unwillingly has to depart from all his creation, enter into another phase of life, to create again and again. To give hope to such foolish conditioned souls who waste their energy in this temporary material world, and the Lord gives information that there is another nature which is eternally existent without being occasionally created or destroyed. And that conditioned soul can understand what they should do and how his valuable energy may be utilized. Instead of wasting his energy in the matter which is sure to be destroyed in due course of by the Supreme Will, the conditioned soul should utilize energy in the devotional service of the Lord so that he can be transferred to the other eternal nature where there is no birth, no death, no creation, no destruction, but permanent life instead, full of knowledge and unlimited bliss. The temporary creation is thus exhibited and destroyed just to give information to the conditioned soul who is attached to the temporary things. It is also meant to give him a chance for self-realization and not for self-gratification, which is prime aim of all fruitive actions. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Jnanathimirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamakyam Kadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sahagana Raghunatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bandhum Nangayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Mishwanam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here this chapter Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Sage Shukadeva Goswami is answering different questions asked by Parikshit Maharaj, and the last few verses he's been talking about how he is indirectly responsible for different things. Namely, he is responsible for creation of different species of life. So the Supreme Lord is the cause of all causes. So we've been seeing that from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita also, how the Supreme Lord is Sarva Yonishu Kaunteya Murtaya Sambhavantiyaha Tasham Brahma Mahatyonir Aham Bija Pradapitaha. So he is the seed-giving father, and he is the cause for all the yoni, or all the species of life. So yoni means the seed, or the seed for the entire creation. So there are different species of life, as we see from Padma Purana. There is 84 lakh different species, or 8.4 million species of life. And the human life is said to be the topmost. And even amongst the human life, there is a different classifications, as we saw in the previous verse. Sa evat evadum jagatdatha bhagavan dharma rupadrak pushnanti stapayan vishwam tiryan nara suradivihi. So tiryan means all the species that are lesser than human beings, and nara means human beings. Nara adivihi, sura adivihi. Sura adivihi means the demigods. So demigods are also classified under the humans. So amongst the 84 lakh species, there are 9 lakh of them are humans. So what do you mean by humans? Humans not necessarily means just a human that we see, Homo sapiens species, but also so many other species that are lesser than humans, but they still have the human rupa, or the human form, and superhuman forms also, like the demigods and the other Vidyadharas, Charanas, and Apsaras, and Naga. The Naga and everybody, or those are subhuman species. They are still classified as humans, but they are subhumans. And the Vidyadharas, Charanas, and they are considered to be the superhuman species, including the inhabitants of the heavenly planets, like Gandharvas and Yakshas, Kinnaras. So they are all considered to be superhuman species. So here, in the previous verse also, Krishna is actually, Shukadeva Goswami is saying this word twice in the last 4 verses, namely, Bhagavan Dharma Rupadrak. So he also said that in the 36th verse. Bhagavan Sarva Rupadrak. Dharma Rupadrak. Sa Vachaya Vachakataya Bhagavan Brahma Rupadrak. Nama Rupa Kriya Datte Sakarma Akarmakaha Paraha. And here he is saying in verse number 41 also, Sa evadam jagadata bhagavan dharma rupatrak pushnanti stapayan vishwam tiryan narasuradhi. So that is said because the Supreme Lord is a maintainer of dharma and also of all the creations and all the 14 planetary systems. So we saw in detail about how Brahma was empowered to create this entire species of life. Primary creation is done by the Supreme Lord. Secondary creation is brought forth by Brahma. And here in this particular verse, the 43rd verse, we are seeing how the creation will be eventually destroyed. So both the primary and secondary creations will be destroyed. First to go will be the secondary creation, namely all the species of life. So the description is there in the 12th canto, how the pralaya happens. The pralaya happens in the same sequence as the creation happens. The creation happens when it starts from the Kham. So we see Bhumir, Apo, Nalo, Vayu and Kham. So that is actually the sequence of creation. So the last to come is the Bhumi, or the earthly planet. And the next to come, or the next before to come, is the water. So it comes in the same sequence. It starts from space comes the the air, from air comes fire, from fire comes water, from water comes bhumi, finally. So the rivers of destruction, pralaya, it is all taken care by Krishna's Gunavatar of Lord Shiva. So he also takes care and destroys it the same way. So first it will be huge amount of rains. There is so much rains, completely inundate the entire surface of the earth. The whole surface of the earth will not be visible. It will only be water and all throughout the surface of the earth. And this is the 12th canto. And when the complete surface of the earth is completely inundated by water, then there will be so much fire set forth by the sun god. Sun god becomes very intense and it becomes super large, because of which all first the surface of water is covered by water, and because of which the bhumi dissolves into the water. And then the fire comes. Due to the sun planet becoming so big, the fire comes and fire completely evaporates the entire water combined with bhumi, combined with earth. So everything becomes completely evaporated and merges into the fire. And that fire is completely merges into the air. And then that is taken completely into the space. And that completely becomes the inert matter of Pradhana. And that goes into the body of Mahavishnu. That is what is said here, that Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, Bhutha Gramasa Evayam Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. So Pralaya happens by complete Bhuta Grama, or the summum bonum of the creation becomes completely amalgamated into one unified form, just no differentiation. And that unified form of matter gets absorbed in the body of Vishnu, and it's again, that's when it happens when there is a night of Brahma. So night of Brahma, then Rudra takes charge of it. So Rudra, the Supreme Lord actually creates through Brahma, brings forth all the population with the hope that this entire population of the species of life will take interest in spiritual things. He is giving everybody another chance. So all this species, all these different souls, they have not taken back to Krishna. They are not taken to the devotional service to Krishna. So they are again brought into the body of Vishnu. So when Lord Vishnu desires to create, so of course Brahma becomes manifest through his navel, and his desire is that everybody takes up to this devotional process and then comes back to him, to rejoin back to him in the spiritual world. So it's a great desire to have everybody come back to him. Supreme Lord creates this. But the living entities, they disappoint the Lord again. So just like how they have done before, many times. Because of the disappointment, so the Lord in the form of the Gunavatar of Rudra or Shiva, he is very angry at all these living entities. They have missed the opportunity, they missed the bus, and they have exploited the sources of material nature. Just like Prabhupada is commenting here, so the great materialists, they have done so much exploitation of material resources. They take so much of an, just like Hiranyakashipu also, and Hiranyaksha. So Hiranyaksha, what Hiranyaksha means, he had gold in his eyes. So he was always eyeing towards gold. So he wanted to take the entire earth planet, and he wanted to take all the resources of the earth planet and rob it. And then he actually wanted to build a staircase towards heaven, so that nobody needs to do any kind of sacrifice, any kind of pious activities. Instead, they just climb over the stairs and go to the heavenly planets. So that was his desire. So desiring that actually, so he took the earth planet under the water. And so we saw how Lord Varaha, he came and he resurrected the earth planet. So but the point here is that the previous verse also, we saw how the Supreme Lord, the maintainer personality of God, as the maintainer of all universe, appears in different incarnations after establishing creation. And Prabhupada goes on to describe that he incarnates in a boar form, he incarnates as the Matsya or the form of fish, and he does not discriminate any living entity. So Krishna taken the boar form. So why did he take the boar form? Do you know?
Planet Earth was down in the water, in mud.
Yeah. But the boar doesn't go inside the water. The boar cannot breathe inside the water. So why would we take a boar form? Yeah, the answer is given in other Puranas. So the boar form is a significance of, it is signifying us that we should search for the truth, search for the absolute truth. So in the vast ocean of the Garbhodaka ocean, where Hiranyaksha went and hid behind, under the depths of the ocean, this earth, the Bhumi. So then the Lord Varaha, so he took the boar form and he went and he resurrected the earth back. So that is because of the significance is that, the form of significance is that he could have taken any form. He could have taken in a fish form or even a crocodile form and whatever different forms. So, but he takes the boar form because it signifies, he takes the best out of it. He resurrects the earth back in the vast ocean, and the boar can do that. The boar has the skill to find what it really wants from all the different things around it. So that is why Jnananandamayam Devam Virmalas Padikakritim Adaram Sarva Vijnanam Nekirim Upasmahe. So Adaram Sarva Vijnanam. So he is the base for all the knowledge. And he is the base, that's why Varaha Avatar is said to be the Jnana Surupa of the Supreme Lord. So he is very merciful in giving knowledge. So that this particular verse is chanted before any repeating anything or anything that is connected with knowledge. Adaram Sarva Vijnanam. So here, coming back to this point here, how the Rudra, so he is very upset with the living entities. So they did not take up the devotional service. With so many opportunities, the Lord came in so many forms. He comes in every yuga, and then he also takes different Leela avatars. Whenever there is a necessity, he comes and does different avatars, Leela avatars. And he does different Satyavesha avatars also. In spite of so many incarnations, in spite of so many different representatives of the Lord coming and giving this knowledge and repeating the same information and trying to create an impetus for the living entities to take up a devotional service. In spite of so much of efforts, all the efforts the living entities has ignored, because of which Rudra is extremely angry. So he does this Tandavam, he does this dance of destruction, and then he completely destroys the whole world. So because of his Ugra Tandavam, or his dance of destruction, all the Bhumi, the whole 40 planetary system crumbles into one unified Bhumi, one unified mass. Then the rain comes, then the fire comes, and all of them are completely absorbed into this unified form. So that's how destruction happens. So Prabhupada is warning again and again. So all the efforts of all these great industrialists, the great politicians, they try to do different things. They try to, in order to enhance their position or in order to enhance their stability in the political spectrum, or in order to fulfill certain desires of the community or the country, different things. They do different measures, a lot of different things. They completely change the whole course of the earth surface. So it used to be a very beautiful and nice and full of different vast natural vegetation, but they wipe out all the forests, they build all these buildings, and they make all this, completely change the earth surface for their own greed and their own lust for material sense gratification. So Krishna is extremely upset with all these things. So Krishna says everything belongs to him. He is the source of everything. Aham sarvasya prabhaha mattaha sarvam pravartate. Says from him comes everything. So but the living entities, we forget that every time. Then we think that this is all meant for our enjoyment. So we completely exploit the sources of material nature, the resources, natural resources, and then we try to make things that is beneficial for us, thinking that it will satisfy us. But we are also not satisfied because of that. Nobody is happy in this material world. In spite of so much of endeavor to make things happy, eventually the material nature baffles their attempts. It makes them more morose. There is always new and new challenges, either in terms like different viruses coming and unsettling the whole so-called status quo, or it is some wars that is forced upon the human beings, or a lot of different natural calamities. So nobody knows what is in store for the future. So with all this different, so everybody thinks that this comfort, the comfort situation will continue years after years until they are, so they will never die. So that is why we see from Yudhishthira Maharaj also. So when he goes and meets the Yaksha who is guarding the lake, so he's asking, Yaksha is asking, what is the most astonishing thing? And Yudhishthira Maharaj is very beautifully answering. Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti emalaya tesham stavaram icchanti. And that is the most astonishing thing. So every moment, so ahani ahani bhutani, the living entities, the kinsmen, they're all dying. Gachanti emalaya, they're all dying. But teshaha stavaram icchanti. Seshaha means those who are left out. They want eternality. Stavaram icchanti. So they desire to be eternal. So the attempts by the human beings to become eternal, maybe in terms of finding a vaccine for a virus, or in terms of finding that special medicine which will keep the life eternal. Nobody has to go for death. So they're trying to make out of research to be eternal, not to die. So all those different attempts are being made. So they're trying to exploit the material nature, try to make different attempts to try to see if they can eternally live here. But definitely that's not going to happen. So that death is going to be certain. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita also that Kalosmi lokakshaya krit prabhardaha. So I am the time eternal. And I come and I take away everything. So that is Krishna's promise. So for those who are materialists, Krishna comes as the death personified. And for those who are really spiritualists, those who are really following the devotional service, the path of devotional service enunciated by the Supreme Lord, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or the great, lot of different acharyas, lot of different sages who have spoken volumes and volumes of literature how to practice devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So for them, Krishna comes, for them death is just a stepping stone to eternality. So they die to live forever after that. And so, but for those who are really trying to exploit, so death is the most feared thing. So the good example is Prabhupada uses the cat. The cat comes as death for the mice. The same cat carries the kitten in the same mouth, but the kitten does not fear death. It's not seeing death in the cat, seeing a motherly love there. But whereas the mice, it sees the death. So that is what is in Krishna. Krishna is Supreme Lord. He is both the mother and also he is the death personified. The choice is for us to make. If you pursue the path of material advancement with disregarding the spiritual path of perfection, then we are inviting death. If we follow the path of devotional service, and Bhagavatam says that for those who are reading Srimad Bhagavatam every day, so for them, the every day, the sun does not take away every day. In fact, you get more and more life for continuing the devotional service, either in this life or the next life. You don't really face death. So death is really and happily devotees embrace death, because there's an opportunity to go and continue the devotional service eternally, directly to the Supreme Lord, face to face. But for others, it's really a very horrible thing. Death is the most feared thing. So that is why we see that as one of the 4 problems of life. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. Mrityu is really the most horrible thing. And because people have amassed so much wealth, they have made so much investment in the relationships, but Krishna in one moment takes away everything. All this wealth and all the relationship, everything is gone in a moment. So that's what death is. Death takes away every single thing. And that's very painful, obviously, because you made so much investment for so many things, so many positions, and for so many relationships. We put so much time in it. And then when everything goes away, then it is extremely painful. But death is very painful, no doubt. But even before that, the old age is also extremely painful. The old age, so we see so many investments that we make fall apart. So we put investment on our children. We hope that they will take care of us in the old age. But then finally they again disappoint us. There's so much disappointment, not just the children, but in everything, relationships. So we do so many thinking that this will really help us, this investment in this particular bank, in this particular stock, and that will help us. But again, that disappoints. Suddenly the economy completely crashes and the stock market is completely crashing. So all this investment, with so much of careful investment of time, energy made by the materialist, so Krishna knows and he takes away everything. But that is actually done with a hope that this will inspire them to understand that this world is fallible, this world is not perfect, this world is always full of ups and downs, twists and turns, this whole life is full of twists and turns. So if we can take that lesson from that, so that every moment in life is actually a lesson that we can learn from, and we can learn from it, and then we can make a step in the right direction. So all this twists and turns is actually a good lesson for us. It helps us to see the truth. That the truth is that this whole creation, the whole world is temporary. Nothing is really permanent. So invest on things that is permanent in your life. Don't invest on things that is not permanent. So definitely one needs to make some amount of money for one's living. One needs to have some things. Even Rupa Goswami says that you should definitely have some money for your future unknown situations. So you should have 1/4 for your unknown situations. You should give 1/4 in charity to the devotees, and you should give 1/4 to people who are helping you, like your kinsmen. So like that, your money should be properly managed even for unforeseen future circumstances. So that is not a bad idea to save for the future. That's definitely a good idea, and Krishna definitely recommends that. Like Rupa Goswami is recommending that. But completely saving every penny and not giving anything for good causes, it is really inviting trouble. Because that money, so there's a nice story of a person who carefully saved all his wealth and built a huge palace, and he had all wonderful things for his comfortable living. But suddenly the death came and took away everything, and the next life he became a mouse in that same house. And his own children, they came and killed him. This comes in one of the Gita Mahatmya stories. And so like this, so carefully protecting things, people are so much in either carefully protecting or completely spending. They don't care, and then they spend like that for different things, eating, sleeping, maybe differently. So that is also not good. So you have to have a balance. Whole life, Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna is again and again recommending, you should have a balance. So in whether it is sleeping or whether it is eating, so a yogi is one who balances things out. So what is that shloka in the Bhagavad Gita? It says that yogi never sleeps more, never sleeps less. Yogi doesn't eat more, doesn't eat less. So that is a very good path for a yogi. So that is very true for everybody also. So you have to properly manage things. Even your time. You should give a time for Krishna. More time you give for Krishna, then more time you get from Krishna. So that is the truth. So we try to manage our time, make a lot of plans, do this in this time, do this in this time. But finally we don't get time for ourselves and we are frustrated. But the secret is that's Bhagavatam's verdict. I don't exactly remember the verse, that every single day the sun rises and sun sets. It takes away one day from you. It takes away a part of your lifetime. But that does not happen to those who read Srimad Bhagavatam, or those who follow the Bhagavatam principle of doing the Navavida Bhakti. So for them, you get more and more time for Krishna consciousness. So Krishna promises He will take care of you, even your material necessities. Krishna said, Yoga Kshemam Vahamiham. So I will take the responsibility for your yoga and Kshema. Yoga means protection, Kshema means whatever benefit that you want, whatever gain you want. So everything Krishna says, I will take care. So we don't put our trust in Krishna. Rather, we put our trust in different material positions or insurance companies or in different other things that we are amassing. So that is not going to really help us. Suddenly one day will come and will take away everything. So there is no guarantee. But Krishna, putting faith in Krishna, investing in Krishna, investing time in Krishna will definitely help us. It will help us. It's eternal, it's for our eternal good. Nehavi kramanas nosti prattavana vyapavide swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato vaya. Krishna says, even if a little bit of investment in this will save you from greatest dangers of life. So we've seen so many examples from Srimad Bhagavatam and so many things. So even in the Padma Purana, the story of how a mouse, so the day in the Kartika month, he tried to eat the wick which was actually lit, thinking that the ghee inside the wick will at least give some nourishment. But then it caught hold in his mouth and the fire completely burnt his body. But then it got liberation. So that is what is the beauty of devotional service. Krishna even sees that mouse attempt he sees every small action as a devotional service. He's ready to give that benefit of doubt for us. So it's even if you're walking for a spiritual pilgrimage, so even walking towards Krishna's temple is like going towards spiritual pilgrimage. So everything is considered as a devotional service. And so one has to take advantage of this wonderful opportunity that Krishna is giving us through his books or through his messengers or great acharyas and through the institution, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So all these things are a great benefit for us. It is meant for us to benefit, and also we should take advantage of that for our spiritual welfare, and we should also help in furthering the movement. So this is a very important thing. It's a very important yajna. Yajna means sacrifice. So we sacrifice our things, our time, energy, money, in furthering this movement, and Krishna will give us more and more. So that is the verdict of Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the Yukta Vairagya principle that all the Goswamis taught us. So I'd like to stop here and I'd like to open for any questions or comments.
I was just wondering, I think maybe that verse, the sun, isn't that maybe where Narada, when he's talking to Vyasa about, in the very beginning of the first canto, for some reason I think it's maybe in that section there, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, I'm not sure what where it comes in. Maybe the first canto.
Second canto? Somewhere there.
Yes. Any other questions, comments? Movies?
Well, when you're talking about Lord Shiva, I think you're talking about the devastation. What came to my mind was, even though Bhamasura, he took shelter of Lord Shiva, thousands of times, but still Lord Shiva could not protect him when Krishna is involved because of that Shiva's role in they had to
That's true.
take shelter from the Supreme Lord in order to
That's very true.
get protection.
Yes. So there are actually 11 Rudras. There's a difference between Rudra and Shiva. So Sada Shiva is said to be Guna Avatar of Krishna. He is not different from Krishna actually. So he is an expansion of Krishna. In one sense, just like how we say in Brahma Samhita, that Shriram Yatha Dadi Vikara Vishesha Yoga Sanjayate Nati Yata Pratagasti Hetu Sambhutam Anupretikarya Govindam Adi Purusham Samanandaya. Just like a milk turns to a curd or yogurt. So actually Lord Sadashiva is actually a Gunavatar of Supreme Lord. He is a manifestation of Supreme Lord. And whereas the Rudras are different Sakyavesha avatars of Sadashiva, they are different living entities. So they sometimes do some different things, like fighting and other things, and giving some benediction and all these things. So they are actually like Sakyavesha avatar of the Sadashiva. They are not necessarily Shiva, the Gunavatar of the Lord.
So the Saj, is that the one, my understanding, there's a Shiva who protects
Yes,
Dhamma.
that is correct. So that is actually Sadashiva who comes. He wants to give pleasure to the Lord by fighting with him. So his intention is to come and not just protect the Banasura, but also to give a pleasure to the Lord. The Lord comes in the mood of fighting. And of course he doesn't want to kill Banasura. He wants to give him a good lesson. So Lord Shiva also comes because he's given a word to Banasura that anytime he calls for protection, he comes and he will save him. So, but he also Krishna has multiple things in his different actions. Like one of them is he has a tendency to fight. Sometimes he, just like Jaya Vijaya story, so he has somebody to come and fight, like Lord Shiva in this case. So he comes and fights with him. And finally Lord Shiva is put to sleep by his Narayana Astra. And then Lord Krishna goes ahead and he cuts all the arms of Banasura. So that is again a pastime. Sometimes Lord Shiva wants to help in Krishna's pastime and giving more pleasure to him. So that is one of the reasons sometimes Lord Shiva acts like that. But many stories of different things are connected with, they are actually Rudras. And the Rudra, they are Sakyavesha avatars, so they are not all the perfect like Sadashiva. So they do some mistakes sometimes.
So, but one other thing you were saying about the Earth planet, why so concerned about Earth? There always seems to be that specific target, that Earth is the one place where the Asuras want to, either annihilate it or conquer it. Did you speak on that a little? Why are they so concerned about the Earth? And is this the only place there's gold? I mean, there's obviously gold elsewhere.
Yeah, the Earth is so if we, going by the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Earth is the major portion of the whole creation. So it is there in the middle of the whole Brahmanda, and the expanse of the Earth is from this point to this point, from end to end. So Earth is a very potential place, because Earth is like a launch pad. So people can, by doing 5 activities, they can go up, or people can go down. And eventually those who go up come down here to the Earth planet. And those who go down also come back to the Earth planet. So Earth is a very influential and potential place. And all the demigods get their strength by the yajna that is done on the Earth. So the earthly beings, the rishis and everybody, they do yajna. And the nourishment goes to the demigods also. The main Yajna Purusha is Supreme Lord. But all the demigods also get their benefits. They get their strength from this performance of Yajna. So if Yajna is not performed, then they lose their potency, they lose their strength. Because everything is, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita also, that Annad Bhavanti Bhutani Parjanyat Anna Sambhavaha Yajnat Bhavati Parjanyam Yajna Karma Samudbhavaha. So the whole basis of karma is doing sacrifice, doing yajna. And that's what gives nourishment to the demigods. So they are very concerned about what happens on the earth. So because their own self and well-being is dependent on the earth, they get their strength from that. Hope that answers your question, Prabhu.
Yes. I think also that Prabhu would say that because the other, like you'd say, celestial planets, there's no aging, there's no old age, there's just heavenly pleasures. And then the lower planets, there's much more suffering. So when you're suffering, it's hard to, if you have a high fever, if you're hungry, Prabhupada said, you can't preach to a man who's hungry, you have to feed him first. But on the earth planet, we have some places that are more heavenly or more hellish than others, but generally speaking, it's moderate. There's both, and so there's more time and possibility for considering it's a more, appropriate atmosphere for, more conducive is the word I'm looking for spiritual life.
Very true. So it's not that others, those who are in higher planets cannot go to spiritual world from there.
Yeah.
But it's, as you said, it's very difficult for them. So it requires, and the benchmark for them is also quite different. It's not the same as the benchmark for the Kali Yuga people. You chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, follow 4 Agreed principles, and Prabhupada says, I'll take you back home, back to God. That doesn't apply for them, people in the heavenly planets. They have to work even harder to get to the spiritual world.
Yeah.
That's why it is even said, Prabhupada also says in many places, demigods want to take birth in Kali Yuga because that's an opportunity, easy opportunity for them to go back to God. So, but demigods, it's the same, their benchmark is higher. So if they really want to progress, they have to go up in the higher planets, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and go to Brahmaloka. That's how they can go up. So that's why they desire to come to the earthly planet, so that they can take advantage of this easy way to go back home, back to God. So we don't understand the value of it. It's like a diamond, having a diamond in the hand and playing it as a stone, using it as a stone. But others are really wanting that diamond, and they are not able to get that diamond. That is the speciality. So speciality of this age is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada, and Lord Krishna coming in Dwapara Yuga. So all those benefits are available for us, so those who are residents of Earth planet. Sri Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.